We're back.
Yay!
Welcome to the Auto Authorities Podcast. I am so happy to be here. My name is Jay Grossman. I'm the founder and CEO of iAutoAgent, and this is Mr.
David Marks with Quality Auto STL, home of trusted services with no surprises.
We have been on a roll with this how to spot a bad car dealership. We're literally on the third one. We had part one, we had part two, and now you get to see part three.
Why
do you think we have so many different parts to this, Dave?
Because there's so much to a bad car dealership.
It's just crazy, isn't it?
It's your grocery list.
It is. And really, my goal today for you, the audience, our listeners, our fans, is to walk away educated, as always. And we have a lot of material to talk about, plenty of golden nuggets, and we're going to go ahead and do this. You ready to do this, Mr. David Marks?
Absolutely.
Let's do it.
Have you ever felt like you were taken for a ride when buying, selling, or repairing your car? Well, not anymore. I'm Jay.
And I'm Dave.
And this is the podcast that tells you what to watch out for, whether you're buying, selling,
or repairing your car.
With 47 years of automotive experience, we are the Automotive Authorities. This podcast is sponsored by iAutoAgent. We're real estate agents for cars.
And Quality Auto STL. Trusted services with no surprises.
Boom!
Booyah!
Man, I am really, really excited to talk about this. We're talking about how to spot a bad car dealership, part 3. I don't know if I have any more parts after this. We got a lot of information to cover. But before we begin, I would like to thank our sponsors, iAutoAgent.com. We are real estate agents for cars. We not only help you sell your car, you never have to lift a finger and never pay us a dime, might I add. And we also help buy vehicles nationwide so you don't have to deal with the hassle. And this is Mr. David Marks, Quality Auto STL, trusted services with no surprises, the best in the business. We have the dream team here, don't we?
And absolutely.
Man, I don't know about you, Mr. David Marks, but we've had so much feedback from just so many people. Just one of our really good listeners, Matt, he said, what did he say? That we're the best podcast he's ever heard. Like, wow. You know, we just try to make it fun for you. We try to make it just something that you want to listen to. And we want to hear more topics too, because we have lots of them, but we want to hear what you want to hear. And if you're listening on YouTube, please click the red subscribe button and the notification button so you can be notified for every single one of our podcasts. And if you're on Facebook, please join our Facebook group, the Auto Authorities Podcast. Just join the group and you can watch this live, or you can watch it on 19 other different channels, including iTunes, Pandora, Amazon, all the different ones. And just because you're here today, everybody, we have a special gift. If you take out your phone and if you text the word CAR, C-A-R, to 57838, that's texting the word CAR to 57838, you will have our ebook, How to Buy a Car Without the Nonsense. The exact process that we recommend to anybody to when you're buying a car to take this process. And Mr. David Marks, we're going to be talking about some of those steps today in detail. Where do we begin?
Well, let's see. Try to think. We're in the financing, if I believe, the money part.
Nope. So this is where we're going to begin.
Wrong answer.
We're at the dealership.
Yeah.
Somebody paid attention to the last one. We're at the dealership, and the salesperson that you're supposed to meet with, let's just say you're working with them and they disappear.
They're MIA, missing in action.
That's called in the dealership world, because I was in it for many, many years, that's called a TO. and then somebody else takes over. T-O, take over.
Take over. I thought there could be a timeout. That's what I thought. I'm like,
So sometimes, and we're talking about bad car dealerships today. We're not talking about our good car dealerships that are wonderful to work with, that don't play these games. But if this happens to you and you're working with this person and everything is hunky-dory, and all of a sudden you might say something like, I'm not interested, I'm ready to go home. And all of a sudden they're like, oh, wait a second, goodbye. And then all of a sudden this other guy, Guido's, friend, Sal. Sal.
Why would a bad car dealership want to take over and play the game? What's their purpose? Why would they want to do that? Because that makes absolutely no sense to me.
So what they teach in the car dealerships, the bad ones, is when you can't close a deal, and closing a deal means someone buying the car,
right?
You have to turn them over to somebody else. Or, and some dealers, the real bad dealers, will not let so they basically threaten the job of the salesperson and say, hey, nobody leaves here till they either talk to me or they talk to Sal over here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I got what you're saying.
So when Guido can't close the deal, he gets Sal, or he'll get his brother and the manager,
Brother Tony.
Right. Have you ever had a situation to and this is another thing that you'll see in the book, is when you get to the dealer and they can't find the keys. I don't know if we have that one. I'm going to have to go check. And you wonder why it takes 4 to 7 hours to actually get something done when you go to a car dealership. That's why our buyer's agent program, I have more business at iAutoAgent than I know what to do with, because people don't like these games. And half the time they don't know where the cars are. Wow. They don't know. And it really sucks too. So here's a golden nugget for you that you will see in the book, is figure out who you're talking to and tell them that you're going to be there at 12 o'clock on Friday, and to have the vehicle pulled up front. Because if they can pull the vehicle up front, they obviously have the keys.
Yeah. So they'll use this as part of their bait and switch tactic to try to sell you what they want to sell you, not necessarily what you want to buy.
Not necessarily. It could be, Mr. David Marks. But here's the thing. It could be simply that they are unprofessional and they don't know where their cars are located on the
They're just
lot.
Unorganized.
So if you are working with a car dealership and they do know where the keys are, then you probably have a professional car dealership to start with and a good car dealership to work with.
Yeah.
But what really sucks is, this is the best one. They're gone for 30 minutes looking for the keys, and they came back and they're like, it won't start. Yeah, I couldn't get that one started. I tried to jump start it, but it wouldn't start. Holy cow, really? So that right there, well, I understand, because I worked in the dealership world. Sometimes the cars didn't start because they sit forever. But that's technically what the dealerships be doing, is walking through the inventory and making sure that they start the cars every now and then, make sure they start. But this could be a much bigger problem that they have to talk to Mr. David Marks about.
Yeah, that's a red flag if it can't start. That means nobody wants to, if a car's been sitting long enough where it can't start, that means nobody wants to buy it. Well, there's a reason nobody wants to buy it.
If I was the consumer and they were going to buy a car, I would just watch where the salesperson goes, because half the time you'll look out the window and it's like, oh crap, they have the hood up on the thing. You know, it's just not professional, and I just wonder how that even works and how they even sell any cars. So let's just say,
I don't know if that's even ever happened to me. I don't I'm sure it has. I just don't remember. What we see is the rotors will rust over a couple weeks. And I got to tell people, hey, this thing's been sitting for a couple weeks because rotors don't have any rust inhibitors on them. They don't, because if they're driven every day, they'll never rust. So it's like when you drive off a little bit, you might hear some scraping noise, but as you drive, it'll go away. And I haven't had any pushback from that, but I've always tried to pre-warn people about that.
Yeah, and that's a valid, issue, is that if a car hasn't been driven and let's say you're in it and you're driving it and you're hearing that or the vibration, it very well could be that the car hasn't been driven and you just hit the brakes, a couple times pretty hard. And I mean, I had that when I saw cars because it was very frustrating. I'm like, this is like almost a brand new car. Like, how does that even happen? But it does.
Yeah, it does. It happens on all cars. They just said that's what's going to happen.
So here's the next, and this is a big one here: the monthly payment. Never, ever talk monthly payments. Always know where. So you should know your budget, right? You should know your budget, but you don't need to tell that to Guido. And Bobby, if you're listening, you need to listen to this. Because for those of you that are just getting into our podcast, Bobby is one of our people that we know that makes bad decisions, unfortunately. Right, Mr. David Marks?
But that's what keeps us in business.
Yeah, absolutely. He's
yeah, he does.
But Bobby is definitely a tough one to crack. But when they start talking about monthly payments, here's how you can combat that. When you are looking at a vehicle online, take a simple financial calculator. Type in the budget that you're thinking. So let's say it's $30,000. That's about a $600 a month payment. It's about $18 to $20 per thousand. So if you want a $300 a month payment, you shouldn't be looking at a $30,000 car unless you have $15,000 down. That's how you educate yourself. And the other way you educate yourself is you go online, because everything is published online now. We have some of the greatest credit unions that we work with. They publish their rates right online. So you just plug in the rates. Yeah. And then because when they're like, okay, well, you want to be at $600 a month, or you want to be at $300. Let's use 300 because that's more of you want to be $300 a month. Well, they can make $300 a month show up on a 84-month loan. That's a whole other story. They'll just sit there and keep pushing out the years. But what you don't realize on an 84-month loan, it's a 7-year loan. And if people put an average of 15,000 miles a year on a car, you're going to have well over 100,000 miles. That's if you start at zero before the car's even paid off. And most people aren't starting at zero when they have a used car. They're going to have 20, 30,000 miles on it. So now you're going to be at 150,000 miles. Meanwhile, you're going to be going to see Mr. David Marks constantly, and you're still going to owe money on your car. And you're going to wonder why.
I see it. They buy a 10-year-old car with 80,000 miles on it. They do this, and then now they need a transmission, or they need an engine, or they need this. And I hand them a $2,800 bill. Like, what?
Yes, it is so true. And there are so many different ways you can make the payments look lower. And it's just something that happens. And we'll talk a little bit more about that when we get to the finance section. But think about it this way, if you go into this, you know exactly what your monthly payment is. So let's say it's $300 a month. You have to finance $15,000 over 5 years. And every $1,000 you put down, it's going to lower about $20 a month. So now you at least know. And that's truly all the sales. A lot of the salespeople only want to know is like, well, what do you want your pay? Because they don't want to be showing you a car that you can't afford in your budget. They don't want to do that.
Yeah, how much you want a month? I see them I call them the Rock Gold car lots on the car. they advertise X amount per month. They don't tell you how much the car is. They just tell you what the monthly payment is.
Right. Because everybody does buy on a monthly payment. I totally get that. Like, that's our cash flow. You know, you make $10,000 a month. Well, that car is going to cost you 300 of it. Then you have insurance and you have other stuff.
Maintenance, especially if you're buying used.
Yeah. And then there's maintenance programs that the dealers will sell and whatever. But we're going to talk about the back and forth here in a second. But I wanted to take a quick break and thank our sponsors, AutoAgent.com. We are real estate agents for cars. We literally sell your car for you, do everything for you. You never have to lift a finger, never leave your home at no cost to you. And then we have another division where we help people buy vehicles nationwide at iAutoAgent.com. If you want our help, let us know. And then this is Mr. David Marks with Quality Auto STL, the best in the business, man. I'm so thrilled to have him as my co-host. And if you're listening to this on YouTube, please click the red subscribe button and subscribe to our podcast. And if you're listening to this on Facebook, just click our join our Facebook group, the Auto Authorities Podcast. Join our group. You can see this live. You can see it about 19 other different channels. And last but not least, I wanted to share our gift. If you didn't hear this earlier, we have a gift for you. We have a free ebook. If you text the word CAR, C-A-R, to 57838, that's CAR to 57838, you will get our free ebook, How to Buy a Car Without the Nonsense, and you won't have to deal with some of this crap that we're talking about, right, Mr. David? What do you think about the back and forth game? We're going to talk about that for a second. You know what that is, right, Dave?
Yeah, I you know, when I'm the consumer, I like the back and forth game because
you are a demented, but we all know that. So,
but, you know, when I'm on the sales side, no, I don't like the back and forth game. I'm just blunt, get to the point. But I'm a different animal. You know, I think it's an intimidating factor for the consumer. You know, to put them in the defensive position, so that they're trying to get them to buy a car. Yeah. They're not trying to help them. They're trying to get them to spend money.
Yes. And here's the thing. Not every dealership does it, believe it or not. Some dealerships are very, very straightforward. Here's the price. Here's your car. That's it. Well, I want more. Sorry. That's it. And it's better just to hear that, because that is what the consumer wants to hear. They want to know that they're at the end. They don't want to feel like they left money on the table.
No.
So this crap, you know, the back and forth. Hold on one second. Let me go talk to Guido.
Yeah, let me go talk to the manager.
Let me go talk to Guido's brother, you know, the manager, and then, you know, back and forth, and you're there. And that it's just a waste of time. And some people are like, oh, I really enjoy that back and forth. Well, you know what? You obviously don't value your time if that's the case. If you really do like to sit there in a dealership and you think it's a fun game, well, that's a problem, is that you may not be making enough money and you're being an attorney. I've had attorneys tell me that, like, I like that. I'm like, really? So you're making $250, $300+ an hour, and they're going to sit there for 4 hours. You're costing yourself how much? $1,000 or more?
Yeah,
$1,200 just to sit there. It's just pretty crazy. So now this is one of my favorites. I don't know if this ever happened to you, but back in the day, the dealers would not give, and I don't know if they're still doing this because I've been out of the dealership world for a long time. But when you have a trade-in, they take your keys, and the keys never come back. In the real old days, Dave, and this is true story, they used to throw the keys on the roof.
The roof of the building?
Yeah. It was hardcore, and that was even before I got in the business. I got in the business in '96.
Wow.
But you weren't getting your keys back. And that goes back to the TO, the turnover. When you can't make a deal with the salesperson, Guido comes in, or Guido's brother comes in. Yeah.
I'd be furious if I was a customer and somebody did that.
Yeah.
Oh, I'd be livid.
Yeah, it's crazy. Let's talk about like really important stuff, and this kind of goes right in your area. Let's talk about Carfax and pre-purchase inspections. You should get a Carfax for anybody. Like if you request a Carfax, you should be able to get one. Not everybody uses Carfax. Some people use AutoCheck. You know, it's gotten better over the years. Carfax has been very, very inaccurate, like about 80% of the time. And now they're probably about 40 to 50% of the time.
Well, so, something that I've learned, Jay, about Carfax is, so I changed our shop management system at the shop. So all my repairs that we're doing are now being reported to Carfax.
Oh, okay. So you're doing that now.
Yeah, well, it just came with the program. I mean, like I don't ain't no extra money, but now when people bring their car in, we can pull Carfax reports just on the service. So what I'm thinking is now that I've seen this and viewed this, is the service. So if a shop's using a industry recognized shop management system that reports the repairs of CarX, those are most likely pretty damn accurate.
Oh yeah, that stuff's accurate.
Yeah. So that's what I found is like, okay, this is a lot. The service part of a Carfax, I would say, is probably 100%, almost 100% accurate. It has to be.
It is, and that is very true. The challenge with the service side though, is how they code everything in. So sometimes it'll say like engine checked on the Carfax, and it's
what the hell does that mean?
Right. And it may just be that's part of their program that they just check the engine when people come in. So if it says engine check, engine check 5,000 miles later, engine check, it's probably a key that that's what they do. But it also could mean a much bigger thing.
Right. Why did they check the engine?
Exactly.
So I'm going to dig more into this and I'll give you some feedback. It's TechMetric is who I switched to as our shop management system for invoicing customers and stuff like that. And I allowed it to connect it to Carfax. So I'll do some homework on this and I'll see if I can't come up with some answers, because I want to start digging into stuff that we've done and see how does it appear on Carfax.
Yes.
And then maybe we can figure this out, Jay, and
this
have some idea on.
Like I didn't realize that you had already done that. So this is a really big thing. If you're listening right now, this is massive, because there really is no real proof that we have as consumers other than Carfax. And AutoCheck doesn't show like what Carfax does. And what Carfax is doing, what Mr. David Marks is saying, is that they align themselves with the mechanic shops and insurance agencies and precincts for police. And if you're not part of their network, it's not going to show up in Carfax when you
because the old shop management system I was using, I didn't report anything we were doing to Carfax, and I was using Mitchell One, which is an industry leading. I've switched, but we'll take some of the repairs, Jay, that I've done, and maybe we could do some homework on the background, and maybe have another episode about this and try to inform people how to decipher when you're looking at the service history. What does it really mean? How does Carfax interpret what we type up, what we give to our customers when we do repairs?
That'll be your homework, Mr. David Marks. And I think you're right on the money, man. I think that people need to know this. And I'm really glad that you actually did sign up with that, because that's going to give us some really good inside information. And when we're doing the buyer's agent program for people, that second step is so important. And that second step is a history analysis. And frankly, I can see things on history reports that the normal consumer cannot see, even though we're looking at the same thing. And it's the same thing as you, when you're looking over a vehicle, it may be plain clear as day that you see a problem and they don't even know
no
problem. And that's where that second step is so freaking key, because they'll look at Carfax. It's like, okay, one owner. Okay, great. Yeah, everything looks really good. But what you didn't see is all that verbiage. And that's where when we talk about how the codes are keyed in and what that actually looks like on Carfax. This is a good one, man. I think I didn't we don't plan any of this. If you're just listening right now, this is not planned.
Yeah, this just came out. I just like, oh yeah, I'm doing this.
We don't edit. Everything is raw and uncut. You're seeing the real deal here. And I'm really actually excited about that. And actually coming in from Carfax, let's talk about pre-purchase inspections. This is a big one, because let's just say hypothetically, and this happens, you go to the dealership and you see this Carfax, and maybe it does spark. I think you should do pre-purchase inspections on anything, frankly.
Yeah, regardless.
And I can tell you story after story after story. But staying focused here. If you're asking them for a pre-purchase inspection and they say no, we don't do those.
Turn around and walk away.
Goodbye.
Yeah.
Goodbye. And you have to realize, if you are buying a used car, you're not going to have a perfect car, but you want to look for the major things that's really going to cost you some money when something breaks. And in that time too, Dave, give the listening audience some things that they should be really worried about in a pre-purchase inspection. Like if this is, if they find this, it's like a deal breaker. Like what's some golden nuggets you can just rattle off?
Well, you want to see, you want to make sure it's not leaking oil. Okay, get a good thorough inspection of the undercarriage, and a pre-purchase inspection will identify what maintenance needs to be done, because used cars don't come with all the maintenance up to par. So it's important to know that, okay, does it need a transmission service? Does it need a brake fluid service? How's the condition of the air filter? And I would also throw in there, hey, are there any recalls that need to be done? You want the technician or the shop, do you want them to take it on a test drive? What are the condition of the shocks? What are the condition of the struts? What are the condition, of the tires? If it's a belt-driven engine, has the timing belt been done? A lot of those, we don't see as much as they used to, but on belt-driven engines, a lot of them, it's not that hard to pop off the timing cover and do a physical inspection of the timing belt. What's the condition of that? Yeah, because you can see stuff that, does the antifreeze look like chocolate milk? Does the oil look like chocolate milk? Looks like chocolate milk. You got oil and water mixing together. So, yeah, you definitely want to have that done.
So those are the big boys, and that's really where that's going to really cost you some dollars. And that just shows negligence of the previous owner.
Yep.
That didn't do, like Mr. David Marks is telling you, the maintenance. And I use this as a perfect example, man. I mean, it's just like anything. We do maintenance on our cars just like we do maintenance on ourselves. We have physicals every year, at least we should. I went to the dentist, and I'm going to the dentist every 6 months. And if I didn't go every 6 months to the dentist, which at one point I didn't go for like 5 years. Yeah. Yeah. It's serious, man. And your freaking teeth will fall out. And it's just like your car. If you don't do the maintenance on your car. And that's where the pre-purchase inspection, I don't want to get too off topic. We have two more things that we want to talk about is, last but not least, don't be pressured into making it a situation or a decision. I always say everything's meant to be in life, right? And if someone else goes and buys the car that you're looking at, then so be it. If you feel like that you're just being rushed to make a decision, and when I auto agent, we work with our clients on this because it's a very emotional type of purchase, very emotional. And that is why we do everything remotely in our buyer's agent program. Because once you get there and you smell that new car, or you drive that really cool Camaro or Mustang, it creates these emotions inside of you, and you get mentally attached. So if you can take that away and not have anybody pressure you into things, you're going to come out way ahead. And I think that's a good note to end on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I really enjoyed this episode. I'm excited to see what Mr. David Marks comes up with, because this is some real inside information that we're going to get. And I'm really excited for this. So he'll be digging in. And I don't know if it's going to be the next episode, but we're going to do an episode on this because the people need to know.
Yeah, I could easily see this being a whole episode about interpreting the service history on Carfax.
Yeah, I mean, let's do it. I'm excited, and thanks everybody for joining us today. All of our fans, please share this, like, subscribe, all the above. Mr. David Marks, you have any closing remarks?
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Yeah,
we got a lot to be thankful for.
Yes, we do. I'll see you next time.
Alrighty, bye everybody.